American history is not a fairy tale. Thomas Jefferson wrote what many believe to be the most important document in human history. He was a slaveholder. We've never lived up to our American ideals. Jefferson himself didn't. But what he wrote has pulled us towards justice for more than 2 centuries. It's always a fight, and it's a battle that is never fully finished. But if Donald Trump is reelected, he will forever and fundamentally alter the character of this nation. We give Donald Trump 4 more years. This will not be the country envisioned by Washington. This will not be the nation bound together by Lincoln. This will not be the nation lifted up by Roosevelt or inspired by Kennedy. It will not be the nation that Barack Obama proved bends toward justice. We can't and I will not let this man be reelected President of the United States of America. I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
That was a new TV ad from the Biden campaign that will air in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, and South Carolina through Thursday, at which time President Trump is expected to be just the 3rd president in United States history to be impeached. Mike Barnicle and USA Today's Susan Page are back with us. And joining us now, the host of MSNBC's Politics Nation and president of the National Action Network, Reverend Al Sharpton, and research director at Democracy Fund Voter Study Group, Robert Griffin. The group, in partnership with UCLA Nationscape, will be out with new surveys every week until the election. Good morning, guys. We'll get to the surveys in just a moment. Joe, just want to get your take on the ad where Vice President Biden is not talking at all about his opponents in the Democratic field, but he's making an argument about stopping President Trump.
Yeah, I personally, I just personally love the ad. I love the content of the ad. It did something that I've thought not only American politicians, but also American educators should do for some time, and that is balance America's heritage and the promise with America with its shortfalls, and figure out a way to move forward using the words and the values of the founders written on paper while moving past, of course, the horrors of slavery, the horrors of Jim Crow. And Rev, we've talked about this a good bit, that you and I have personally, that when we completely turn our backs on a history, like James Baldwin said, that there's no need that we actually be confined by our history, that we make a mistake. But in this case, Biden seems to say, you know what? You did what actually Martin Luther King did, and that is use the promise of America, use the words of Jefferson, use the words of the Declaration of Independence to say, this is our promise. This is where we need to move. And with Biden, he adds a powerful addition to that. We can't move forward if we reelect a president who excites people in Charlottesville and has praise heaped on him by David Duke in Charlottesville because of his, let's just face it, the moral equivalency that he preached after Charlottesville.
No doubt about it. I think you can't achieve and move toward the promise if you don't remember what the promise was and why the promise was given. And I think that when we looked at Biden's ad, he reminds us in a big picture what was the promise of America, whether it was from the beginning declared by the founding fathers through Lincoln, through Roosevelt, through the civil rights movement of Dr. King and on and on. And if you allow people in the moment, like a Donald Trump, to make us forget the tradition of struggling to make this a more perfect union, you become sidetracked with a new addition rather than maintaining a tradition of trying to achieve an America that works for everyone. I think it was a very well done ad and a reminder of where we need to be in this country and where we need to evolve to if we're going to survive as a country.
Well, and Reverend Al, he talked about, with Barack Obama's election, talked about what Roosevelt talked about, what we hear John Meacham talking about a lot, about how the moral arc of this country actually does usually move upward. There are a lot of us who believe that it's taken steps back and we're a flawed nation, but You know, when we completely turn our back on our history, when we completely turn our back on our heritage because of the sins, because of the personal horrific failings of many of our founding fathers, without looking at the words and without embracing the promise, that's an area that Donald Trump actually thrives in. Because if we dismiss the genius of Madisonian checks and balances because of Madison's personal failures, Donald Trump thrives in that environment. It's Madisonian checks and balances that actually stop him from saying Article 2 of the Constitution gives me unlimited power. Because Madison said just the opposite.
Absolutely. If he can erase what Madison and those that wrote in the beginning of this country having a constitution and having a way they wanted to govern, if he can erase that and take, therefore, out checks and balances, then he can take shots at the impeachment proceedings or any accountability without any fear of people looking at it as unpatriotic, because he's given us some kind of convenient historic amnesia. We can't afford that. The reason the country was formed was laid out. We need to manifest that, not avoid it. And the reason we've had to struggle with our flaws is to live up to that promise. Otherwise, we end up justifying our flaws and pardoning our weaknesses.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.